Right, got a haircut. Now it's time for coffee. Went to the coffee shop and got some work done. Now I'm going to go back to the office and do some video work, screencasting, video editing, stuff like that. All right, my friend Robert Williams just did a video on why do we do what we do.
Talk about why we do what we do.
And he encouraged me and some other people to answer that question ourselves. And so I thought I'd do that today. For me, it really depends on the context. I've always said that one of the things I like about being an independent maker is that when folks like you invest in my work, it gets invested directly in my family. And, I've got 4 kids to provide for. And so far this year and last year, I've been able to earn an independent income that pays for things like braces and food and pet food and mortgages and stuff like that. Not mortgages. I have one mortgage. Anyway, so, that's one reason. But there's other reasons too. There's other reasons that I'm doing what I'm doing. And for me, I feel like I have 2 distinct audiences. The first is the market for my product marketing and product development services and products. And these are startups, technology companies, businesses that are selling online. And I'm really excited to be serving that group. But there's this other group, and it might be folks like you who are either trying to earn an independent income from the things you create, or you already are. And I want to speak to you right now. So why am I interested in serving people like you? Why do I want to create products and podcasts and YouTube videos and blog posts for independent makers? And there's a bunch of reasons. Where should I start? The first is, I think today, traditional employment is harder than it's ever been. Job prospects are worse than they've ever been. It's harder than ever to find a good boss. There are good bosses out there, but finding a good boss is hard. My buddy Marty and I launched this service called Remote Workers Club, and one of the reasons we had to pivot and change it was that we couldn't find enough good remote companies who are hiring to offer jobs to our members. It's hard. It's hard to find a good boss. It's hard to find a good company to work for. And so I think increasingly more and more of us are going to need to go independent. Why do I care about that? We only have one life to live, and it just seems like such a waste. When I was working a job, and it wasn't a bad job, and the boss wasn't bad, but I had to commute an hour into work and an hour home every day. And just that alone was like, it just almost ruined me. This idea that every day, 2 hours of my life were being taken away from me. 2 hours I'd never get back every single day, 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month. And this feeling of helplessness that I couldn't control how my time was being spent was frustrating. And it's one of the reasons that I made this transition from regular employment to remote employment to independent consulting to now being an independent product creator, is that each of those steps allowed me to have more freedom in my life. So maybe that's the third thing I'd like to talk about is freedom. I want more people to have the freedom that I have, to go have a beer in the middle of the day if they want to. I know that sounds silly, but again, we only have one life to live. And sometimes even the good bosses have this kind of subversive control over your time. Like if you want a vacation, you have to ask them for it, and they can deny your request. If you want to go on a break in some places, you have to ask when you can go on a break. And there's something about that just sucks. That we as dignified human beings have to be indentured in that way. Even when the boss is good, and even when the boss is well-meaning, that we have to kind of submit ourselves to some of these inhumanities. And I realize that some of you are saying, well, like, you're lucky if you even have a job. And I agree. I agree that this independent life, that having that kind of freedom is a real unique privilege. But the reason I create stuff is because I want more people to have that privilege, for more people to reclaim their dignity, for more people to be able to create something, put it out into the world, and have it help other people. We live in a really unique time where creative people who are able to observe a real need and then provide a solution for that need can make a living. Marc Cuban was just interviewed about the future of jobs, and with automation and robotics taking away so many of the jobs. And he said,
I personally think there's going to be a greater demand in 10 years for liberal arts majors, because when the data is all being spit out for you, you need a different perspective in order to have a different view of the data. And so having somebody who's more of a freer thinker
and so creative people, whether you're a designer, software developer, just a creative thinker, like Cuban was saying. By the way, that whole interview is worth watching. It's in the show notes below. You're going to have tremendous opportunities to learn how to observe an opportunity in the market and then deliver a solution for that opportunity yourself, or by assembling these teams, these really small teams, independent teams. And until we get to universal basic income or something like that, this is the place. Creating independent things is the way to find your freedom. I'll end with this. I started snowboarding when I was 15 years old. And I remember, years ago when I was, working this corporate job and driving in every day, I drew this drawing in my notebook. It was like a dream I had of the future. I had this dream, which was, I wish I had more freedom to go snowboarding. If the snow fell, I wish I could go. And at the time, I wasn't even living around any mountains. And since then, like I said, I've been able to transition and work towards this goal of independent work and move here where I'm surrounded by mountains. And now I'm able to go when it snows, whenever I want. Well, not whenever I want, but quite a bit. And so achieving that dream, achieving that freedom is really core to why I do what I do and what I really want for people like you. Like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe below.
I live today, but always think of tomorrow. The high road is